So, hello everyone. Welcome to FM1 Spotlight. You got me, Erika, on deck today, and I'm very excited to introduce to you our artist for today. So, we got Filipino singer and songwriter who was a finalist on the first season of The Voice Philippines back in 2013. Fast forward to 2018, Black Eyed Peas recruited her to appear on Masters of the Sun Volume 1 and to join them on tour, of course. So since then, she's had crazy good hits like Tanta Love, of course, Mamacita, as we all know, and we play it on our own station. And just recently, her debut single featuring Will I Am called Pull Up. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited. Let's all please welcome the one and only J Rey Soul. Hello, how have you been?
Hello, Erika. I've been great. How have you been?
I'm good. Thank you so much for asking. How has the pandemic been treating you?
Ooh, the whole 2020, it was insane. I would spend most of my time at home. I was reading a couple of books, focused on self-growth, writing, still working through Zoom calls, and working with different writers and producers.
That is crazy, girl. You are booked and busy. I can see booked and busy. I'm happy for you. But first things first, J Rey, I want to congratulate you on your debut single called Pull Up. It is such a good mix of futuristic music, but at the same time, whenever I listen to it, it also brings me back to 70s. That groove, that funk, especially because Nile Rodgers is in the track too. And as we all know, you guys, for those of you guys who don't know, Nile Rodgers is also behind one, really really good tracks like Le Freak back in the 80s, I think. So tell me, how did this collaboration between you, Nile Rodgers, and Will I Am come into fruition? How did it start?
Right. So I work with the Black Eyed Peas, so I work very closely with Will. We're in the studio almost every day, and to a point where I just recently signed a deal with Epic and Sony, and we were deciding, I'm like, okay, we need to put out a song soon. What are we putting out? And then Will had this idea. Oh, actually, I'm doing a song for AMG, right? And I thought, this is such a great song that you should be on it. Like, you should do it. So this was when it was just like a rough idea. I recorded it. I came to the studio. We were working on it. And then I was like, oh my God, this is an amazing song. And that time I told him, I was like, it has some kind of like disco vibe. And he's like, yes, I want to bring in like some amazing musicians to like work it, right? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, yeah, I'll bring in Nile Rodgers. I'm like, Nile Rodgers? So yeah, next time I showed up to the studio, he just played me the track and I was like, wow, like wow, it was just amazing.
That is amazing. Yeah. And what made you guys want to give ode to 70s funk? Like whose idea was that, by the way? Was it Nile Rodgers' idea to give like an ode to 70s? How did that come to fruition?
Will produced the track. Will has deep love on like real music, the 70s, that era. And when he thought about it, he's like, J Rey, like you kind of have this Donna Summers vibe, and your voice is so soulful. This is gonna be a perfect match. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So just jumped on it. Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so for you though, like how would you personally describe this song? Is there any difference to this track as compared to the ones that you've done in the past?
Very well, different but same. Of course, it's like a fusion, soul fusion. We've been doing a lot of Latin songs, Latin tracks. We had a song out called Mamacita and Conta Love, all these Latin songs, and then we have Pull Up. There's gonna be a couple more disco pop you're gonna hear from me, and of course Afro beat stuff. So just as artists, you want to be a risk taker. So I'm always down to try different things, and I don't want to be caged in just one thing where, you can only do R&B, you can only do this. I'm like, I want to try everything. This is what I'm feeling right now. If this is what I'm feeling right now, this is what I'm going to create. If I want to feel like singing a ballad song, since I'm from the Philippines, that's a big part of me. Ballad songs are
That's true, yeah.
my everyday life, So If I feel like doing that, I'm gonna do that. If I feel like R&B, I'm gonna do R&B. But it's still a fusion, soulful island. Just so hard to. It's just music, it's art.
For real, yeah. I totally understand.
I'm like very passionate about it. I'm like, oh, this.
I can tell. I mean, that's nice to see at least, Okay, so jumping off from that, you mentioned that you wanted to try as much as you can. So what is something that you haven't done yet, but you want to try in your future songs?
I haven't done that. I want to try my future songs. Let's see. Because I have the Latin, I have R&B, I have soulful vibe, disco pop.
Or maybe at least you want to try more of?
Ooh, definitely. Ballad, something ballad, like some ballad, pop ballad. I think everyone's in the Philippines gonna rock with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially with your voice, yeah.
Thank you. I have a lot of Afrobeat songs right now. Afrobeats, soulful Afrobeats, just vibes. And then we have Latin songs. And then I think I gotta show people like a different side, because that's my roots. That's how I started. I started as a singer, and I kind of want to hey, this is it, guys. So some heartfelt stuff.
Heartfelt stuff. Okay. Well, hopefully we can expect that from you in the near future. Who knows, right? Okay. So I'm very curious to know what your process is like when you make a song. Is it usually the lyrics that come to you first, or is it the melody and then you kind of work your way around that?
Right. So sometimes it just happens naturally. It's not really planned. So sometimes I'll be walking around and I would have a melody in my head and I would record it on my phone. Or sometimes I'm out in the club. I mean, just kidding.
For real.
Sometimes I'm out in the club. We do it like we're researching. When you're out in the club, you're researching. You want to see how people react and move to certain sounds, right? So when we're out and then they play house music and people like love it, we're like, oh, we need a song like that in this BPM, in this BPM and this, and this key, so everybody could sing it. So sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's also like, hey, Will, I'm kind of feeling this right now and I want to write something about it. Let's do something about it. So just bring in an idea, a thought. I'm like, oh, this is what I went through and I want to put it in the song. And then he would help make it happen because he's executive producing the album right now. So I'm just blessed to be working with that artist right there, which is such a genius.
Definitely. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, because I know, as an artist, creatively speaking, isolation has been tough for musicians, especially during the start of the pandemic, where it was really hard to adapt for all of us, So how has this affected you as an artist, creatively speaking, being in isolation and just being in quarantine?
Us artists, we're emotional creatures,
Right.
So I think as much as we love to be by ourselves and just create and write, we also love to experience life, because that's where you get your inspiration from.
Right.
That moment was, it was hard. It was hard for everybody. It's sad that it's happening, but I made the most out of it. I read books. I focused on self-development and growth a lot, right? So yeah, that's what happened during the pandemic for me.
Right. Well, at least, you were able to still find the silver lining through it all. So yeah, good for you. Let's move on to our next segment, which is Fast Talk. Okay, so I usually do this with all of my interviewees, right? I don't know if you've ever experienced a Fast Talk, but it's basically like a question. I'll ask you anything under the sun, and then all you have to do is just answer it as fast and as honestly as possible, right? Okay, so are you ready?
Wait, what kind of questions are these? I'm scared.
Oh no, you don't have to be scared. It's okay. Just random questions, anything under the sun about you. It's okay.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so let's start. My first question is one thing you wish you could unsee.
Unsee?
Yeah.
That. My answer is not camera ready.
Moving on. All right. Craziest thing a fan ever did for you.
Ooh, oh my God. I sent in a laundry bag when I was in London, and then our tour coordinator sent it our laundry to a laundromat, right? And then it came back to me with a letter. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm such a big fan of you." Like, I'm like, what is happening? So yeah, my laundry, my clothes coming back with like a letter on it from a fan.
Oh my goodness.
So that means I don't know. Like, that's weird. Exactly. That was crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Okay, my next question. What is the motto that you live by?
Motto that I live by. What's supposed to happen will happen. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Que sera, sera. That's also something that I also live by. Okay, if you had a warning label, what would your warning label say? Like if you had a warning label sticker on your forehead, what would it say?
Trouble. Just kidding. Trouble. Danger zone. Just kidding.
You guys already know. Okay, and my last question to you is, what is your pet peeve?
Arrogant people.
Arrogant people. For real, for real. Amen to that. Okay, so before we wrap things up, do you have any last words for all of your fans watching right now, J Rey?
I just want to thank each and every one of you. Send so much love, and please stay safe. And I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Much love from me. Maraming salamat po. Love you guys.
Yes, and hopefully you can come here and have a concert soon. Hopefully, when things are already okay.
Praying that things get better soon.
Yeah, definitely. All right, there you have it, ladies and gents. That was J Rey Soul. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today again. You can catch Pull Up on streaming platforms out right now. And while you're at it, please do show some love for us online at Republika FM1 too. Once again, this has been FM1 Spotlight, brought to you by radio stations under the Philippine Broadcasting Service, Republika FM1, FM1 Davao, Capital FM2, RP1, and RP2. This is Erika, and I'll catch you guys on the airwaves. Bye!
Shout out to Team Manila, available online through dailygrindstore.com, Team Manila Shopee, and Lazada stores.
Microphones on and cameras set. We've heard their sound, and now it's time for us to ask around. FM1 Spotlight on Republika, exclusively on FM1.